So by God's grace, we'll be celebrating our Silver Jubilee this year,
Yeah,
along with the Golden Jubilee of the congregation.
right. That's beautiful.
By the grace of God, yes.
I just want to say to you, in the name of my own community and the name of the Archdiocese of New Orleans, that we are honored to have shared a little bit in your uh, story, in your history. And we are very proud of you as a family in the Catholic Church because you bring a special gift, you bring a uniqueness to the church, universal through your own culture, because grace builds on nature, and you bring a special spiritual gift to the church because it's urged on through your own culture. So it's unique in that sense. And we're very proud of you. And we pray for you. I do, especially every day, that God will continue to bless you and guide you and hold you in the palm of his hand. And that you will live out as women of God the dreams and aspirations and hopes that you found ahead for you, which was that you would truly reflect all that's good, true, and beautiful in the African tradition, especially of womanhood, the best of what that means. Not, I think what I understood him to mean is that you would reflect all that's good, true, and beautiful. And each one of those words have a meaning because when you're reflecting the traditions of a culture, it's not that everything is good. Not everything in that tradition. For example, women may be subservient to men, huh? And women may be, I may not be using the right words, and please understand because I'm using words that's familiar in my tradition. But women may be obedient to men. Um, that doesn't mean that that's good. There's women and men are equal. They should be equal. They are created by God, and God didn't say, you know, men are superior to women. So while you follow all that's good, you see, that was the first thing. All that's good, you have to be very discerning in knowing the good, in recognizing the good, but with respect, always with respect and with reverence to understanding. Like you wouldn't go to your father and say, "You just don't talk to my mother that way." You know, you would not say that because this is what your father understands to be good. What he's doing, that he's head of the household, and he is trying to do the best he can. I say that to say there's a whole theology connected with the first words of the spirit of your founding, like to be all that is good, true, and beautiful, and all of that can be developed into a theological and a theological reflection, which would uh, also in, engulf your culture. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
You see, because it's not just using the words, not just saying all that's good, true,
Oh,
and beautiful. What does that mean in your tradition? That's all I'm saying. What does it mean in the context of your tradition? Because whatever you do, however you interpret that, have to be done with respect. Because respect is a big part of your tradition. Also, respect for the elders. So all of that becomes part of the interpretation of that. And I think that's what the bishop had in mind, that you would really live that out. And as time goes on, you understand those words. They're very powerful. They're not simplistic, and they're not just words. And I think the other thing that was important, that you would be self-sustaining, you would be self-reliance. And what was the third one?
self-sustained,
Self
self-reliance.
self-reliance. And there's a third one. I can't remember what it is now. But that you would care for your own survival.
Yeah.
But that's always done with not with greed. Okay. And that with survival, meaning being able to feed yourself, clothe yourself, house yourself. Those are the fundamental of human existence, that all human beings are entitled to be fed, to be housed.
Lonely, housed.
Hmm? Yeah. To be housed, to be fed, to be
No,
clothed. Right. And so that's once those needs are met, everything is shared in the context of the theology. You are not, see, to me, you look at those three principles that he had, and he had the vision for you. And I just can't think of the third one: self reliance, self sustaining, self determination. I'm not sure. But
no,
you look at that
no.
not just as words, but that how does that fit into the tradition and into your spirituality? Because as the vow of poverty is that we hold everything in common. We acquire material things. We acquire material goods to care for ourselves and for our mission, to carry out our mission, which is in behalf of the poor. You see, it's not to say that we are a rich congregation or to have many houses or to have many. If there's one person hungry, then we should not have all these extra things if there's one hungry person. So I believe that those values that he instilled in your spirituality was to be lived out in a manner that that radicalizes your culture. And I don't mean radical in a negative way. I mean change in it, change it. Like, don't be collecting a lot of money just to have a lot of money. But the money is to move your mission forward, to build your mission, and your mission is to serve the poor. So that's what, to me, those are the key things in your um, in your mission statement, in your constitution.
To you that we just want you to share with us our very beginning, as much as you can remember, from the time you got connected with our founder till you left us to be on our own. So we
Mhm.
want to get that history from you, how we started, both the one you heard from our founder and the ones you experienced. We
Oh,
need to bring all this into our history.
okay. You're right,
Yeah.
as much as I can remember, because that is a long
Yes.
time ago. I think
Yeah.
uh, what my memory serves me right, the way I got involved was through our superior at that time, who was Mother Rose de Lima. She was the superior of the order. And she got involved through Brother Joe Davis, a Marist brother from Ohio, who had been stationed in Asaba. He was a principal of a school that the Marist brothers had in Asaba. That's a very important part of your story. And Brother Joe, the Marist established a novitiate in Ekpoma. Brother Roman Center. So that's how
Mhm.
Brother Roman Center came to be. The Marist brothers from Ohio had a mission in Asaba. They had a school, a high school, and many of the successful Nigerian men went to that school. They older men now, but they were the doctors and the lawyers and the professional people. And Brother Joe was the principal of that school. His name was Joe Davis. And he and his family became good friends of Archbishop Ekpu. Okay? So it was brother, when the bishop was trying to find a formation person for the
Okay.
establishment of the order that the people themselves had asked for. They wanted their own sisters. That is a key thing in your history, that your existence came at the request of the people. When Archbishop was named bishop, successor to Bishop Kelly, one of the first things the people asked for was for their own religious order. So your existence came from the grassroots, came from the request for it, came from the people of God. So that's significant in your history. You know, it's not just the bishop decided to found an order. The people wanted you.
Mhm.
So Okay. So then, fast forward, the bishop was trying to get somebody to work with him. And he tried in Nigeria and he couldn't get anyone. And he tried in England and he didn't. There was a sister he was communicating with. And after a while, it just kind of faded away. She couldn't come for some reason. So Brother Joe told him, why don't you check the Holy Family Sisters in New Orleans?
Oh,
So when he came on his vacation to the United States, he made a trip to New Orleans and met with Mother Rose and the sisters and told them what his intent was. And the decision was to bring the sisters to New Orleans for their formation. Instead of being trained in Nigeria, you all would come to New Orleans. You understand that so far? What I'm saying? Are you following me?
yes, yes, I got what you are saying, that they wanted to bring the sisters to the US
Yeah.
for the formation
Mhm.
initially. Yes.
Yeah,
Brother Joseph, who met your superior general then.
that's right. And so that was the decision that the sisters would come. And they began working right away on getting their passport. I don't know how
Okay.
that part was done, but he must have contacted priests in Nigeria and told them get ready, start getting the passport for the 5 girls. There were 5 interested candidates. So everything was set. Then he came to where I was, but he came to visit this a sister whose mother had sponsored his college degree in Boston. So that's why he came to Boston, and that's where I was. Came to visit that family that had
Okay.
sponsored his education. And their names were Putnam, Putnam, Putman,
P
Utnam.
PUT Patnam.
Uh-huh. And he came to visit them, and he met the sister, and he told them what his mission was. That he had been in New Orleans, he had met with the superior of the Holy Family sisters, and his plan was to bring these future religious women to New Orleans for their training. And the sister said, "Well, why don't you train them in Nigeria? It would be better." And then they said, "Sister Sylvia is uh, ending her time in this mission, and she will be seeking another ministry. Why don't you talk to her?" And so they brought him to my house where I
Okay.
lived with 3 other sisters. And we met with him and we were talking. And he told us what his mission was. Now, he never knew that when he went to New Orleans, that was my community. He didn't know that at
Oh,
the time. So he was telling us all about it. And then when he finished, we said, "Well, that's Sister Sylvia's community you were meeting with. That's her order."
ah,
So
okay.
so he turned to me and he said, "Well, why don't you come?" And I said, I'm not ready to go yet. I had other intentions. I was going to do another degree, and and that was all planned. I had gotten the scholarship, everything. And he said, well, who will come? Who will you get? I said, well, I will get somebody. And we have an organization called the National Black Sisters Conference. It's NBSC, National,
National Black Sisters Conference.
yeah, that's an organization of African American sisters.
Okay.
And we had just started by that time. We weren't very long in existence. And so I sent one of the sisters who was director of it at the time. And I told her about the project. And she said, okay, why don't we make a fact finding trip? And three of us went to Nigeria. We came to just explore what, what the intent was, to meet the people and to meet the women.
Founder.
Yeah, and to meet the women that were interested. They were going to have a retreat for interested girls that wanted to come, candidates. They came from the high schools. They came from Goretti High School and Our Lady of Lourdes in Orme, and there were other high school, Catholic high schools. So interested girls were coming together for a retreat, which we were going to conduct for them, the three of us. So anyway, the three of us came and we met with him, and he told us what his dream was for this community, what he wanted. And a sister, one of the sisters said she would return. She would accept the ministry, not me, but one of them. Her name was her name was Sister Elizabeth. But
Sister
maybe,
Elizabeth.
her name was Sister Elizabeth Harris, and she said she would come back.
Okay.
But so we had a good 6 weeks. We stayed in Nigeria. We really, we learned a lot, and it was difficult. But we wanted to see, whether or not it was something that she could live with, because she said she would come back. She didn't say anything. Well, she said yes. She said, I will come back. Sister Elizabeth. She said, I will come back. And she told the bishop she would accept the ministry and she would bring another sister from her community with her. Okay. And that was the understanding when we left 6 weeks later, when we left Nigeria. And on the way back, she told Sister Sean and I can't live there. I don't won't be going back. So you see what that did, huh? You get the point. The bishop had understood that this was all set. So long story short, when I told my superior what had happened, she said, well, why don't you go? So that was two people telling me, why don't I go? The bishop had asked me. It was really three, because the sisters I lived with in Boston said the same thing. And then my superior said it. So since we had committed ourselves to the Archbishop. We had made that promise. We felt obligated to respond. I felt, because I was the one that got the information. So it was on the feast of Saint Teresa of Avila that I got the visa and the documents to be able to go to Nigeria. And that's how that part of your history started. You have any questions about that?
Yes, thank you so much. I wanted to ask, what year was this? What year did you come to Nigeria?
I came in when we went for the visit for the
When you
six,
came for
it was
6 weeks.
73.
1973. Oh, okay. So in 1973, you came for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
You went back,
Mm-hmm.
then you came back finally the same 1973,
74
1974. Okay,
in November.
in November 1974. So in 1974, you began the formation of our first members.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And,
Uh,
and do you remember those first members? Do you remember your very first commandees?
yeah, I think so. Good question. I may not remember their last names, though, but it was Sister Martina Ogbuyi,
Uh-huh.
Sister Garetti. What is that?
Okay.
Uh-huh. Sister Angelina. I don't know her last name. I can't
Okay.
remember her last name. Sister
Okay.
Shola.
Shola.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
And Sister Josephine Emokai.
Mm. Wow, you remember the surname, Sister Josephine Emokai.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember their names. But I remember all five of them. But I don't remember Angelina's last name. She was Igbo.
She is okay. I'm okay
Yes.
with this name.
Okay.
We can sort out the names.
Uh-huh.
So you started the formation with them at where? At Ekpoma or at Atani?
Atani.
You start
They had come together. They were at Mercy Sisters Convent on Airport Road.
Okay.
They were living with those sisters. And
Okay.
so when I came, I went there. And it was a few weeks. We stayed there until the
Okay.
novitiate was completed. They had just built that one building that is the novitiate. It was not furnished. It had nothing in it, just the building.
Okay.
And the bush was all around. In the front of the building, there was bush. And
Bush.
yeah, and there was a tin, I'll never forget that, a workplace, I guess, for the workers that they kind of worked in or kept their tools. It was right
Okay.
in the front of the building
Okay.
on in Atane. What is that street? Urume Road. What is it called? The road. Atane
Okay.
Road. It was
Atani Road.
uh,
Yeah. Okay.
so and let me see, we didn't have electricity yet.
Hmm.
Um and so what I had to do, they told me I had to furnish the place. And I had to go to the markets I didn't know what a market was. Everything was new to me.
Wow.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
Have to get some water.
Okay, sorry.
Not a problem. Mhm. So, I had to go to the open markets, and my experience didn't prepare me for that. The when you go shopping here, it's inside a store. It's different. And the person that took me to the market for the first time was Monsignor Sembo. Did you meet him?
Yes, I met him.
Monsignor?
Oh, Sebo took you to the market for the first time.
Yes.
Mm.
And he took me to Warri.
To worry.
Yeah, to the market in Warri. And I didn't know anything about bargaining. Had to do that bargaining, you know. So when he was awake, he helped me because he used to sleep all the time. Anywhere he would fall asleep. But we managed to get the beds and the dishes, not all in one trip, but we got the basic thing, a little oil stove. We got a small oil stove operated with kerosene.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We got that. And then the goal was to furnish the house with basic things, um, so that we could move in. And so, we got the fundamental things that the women would need to live. And we used one of the rooms for the kitchen. How the novitiate is. And
Yes.
one of the rooms was used for the kitchen. One was used for the dining room, and one was used for the chapel. The big
Chapel.
community room was used for the chapel.
Okay.
Okay. That was until the chapel was built. So we moved there. I don't know exactly what date, but it was in 74. Or was it 74? Yeah,
Mm.
74 or 5. I don't know. Because remember, I
Mm.
got there in November 74. So it
So it's 75.
uh-huh, might have been 75. And the official opening, was it in April?
April 6.
Yes, the official opening. And it was held in that courtyard, in the courtyard of the novitiate. That's where it was held. And I remember a lot of white people came. Oyibo, many Oyibos came.
Okay, when you was
uh, and
okay.
one priest told me, that stuck with me, and that gave me a sense of what a missionary should do and not do that very
Wow.
day. He said to me, "Do you see those beautiful walls, those beautiful painted walls? In a few weeks, they will be filthy."
Hey, oh Jesus.
That's what he told me. And I said, "I trust you They will not be.
That's filthy. Yeah.
I didn't say any more than that. Trust me,
Okay.
they will not be.
Okay.
And they were not.
Okay. That's thank God. That's good.
So that was the moving in. Now you can ask me. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Do you have any questions about how the sisters got there?
Yes, I'm coming to that because I want to. Now you have talked about how you came, how you started, you moved in. I was going to ask how the sisters came and how how you began the formation with these sisters. You know, being these sisters are Nigerians, and I don't know how well they were in English language. How was the communication between you and them, and how were you able to, journey with them? How was it like?
Uh, well, they spoke English,
They
and
spoke in.
yeah, and there was a rule. There was a rule that they all that communication had to be in English. They had to
Okay.
pay 1 kobo if they spoke. Do you know about that?
Yeah, I didn't know about payment, but I know that when I also came, we were told that our lingua franca in Sacred Art is English language. We
That's
don't
right.
have any other language. Yes,
That's right.
and yes, and I want to ask a question. When you started forming the sisters, what was the vision, the mission, the charism that the founder handed on to you? That's what did he tell you? How did he tell you he wanted the sisters to be?
That's what I was saying at the beginning. That
Good.
he wanted you to live out the values of the values of your culture, and to live
Yeah.
them out in a way that was recognizing all that was good, true, and beautiful in the culture, and
I
and
got
to
that.
do everything with love, because your spirituality was based on the heart of Jesus,
Yes, and spirituality is based on love,
based on
heart
love.
of
On
heart
love.
of Jesus.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Then I want to ask this question. We also believe, personally, I believe that you just said that we came as a result of the request of the people.
Hmm.
And when I have this belief too that our founder also founded us without boundary, not placing a boundary of a
That's
particular ethnic group. So
that's
he
right.
said he wanted to found people from all over Nigeria
That's
to
right.
create, yes, to create that sense of unity, which was actually lacking since after the war in
That's
Nigeria.
right.
Can
And
you
that's
talk
the whole
about that?
thing. That's a big part of
Yeah.
it. Thank you for reminding me
Okay.
of that, because
Yeah.
it was said. Let me see how um, that a group of women from many different traditions could live together in unconditional love, irrespective of tribe or ethnic origin or whatever, because
Yeah.
you came into being in the wake of the Civil War, which was fought over, you know, uh, division. There was division. But there's a principle there with that you all should never forget, that after that Civil War, there was a reconciliation in a way that I never saw with any other nation in the world, that there was forgiveness. Everybody was, the head of state pardoned everyone, pardoned the warring countries, the warring faction. He, he pardoned the Igbos. Did you know that?
Can you talk about it again? You said that I want to say, I want to repeat what you said to be sure I got you. You said that the interesting part of this is that after the Civil War, there was reconciliation,
That's
there
right.
was forgiveness, that the
Yes.
head of state pardoned the warring nation. Did I hear
The
that?
yes.
Okay.
Did you hear
That he
that before?
pardoned. No, I have not really heard this. I'm just hearing, and I would
But
like to capture
nobody,
it.
I don't think anybody was punished.
Yeah.
Even Ojuku. Was Ojuku punished?
No,
Was
Ojukwu was not punished, but I can't remember. I know he went away and later came back after so many years.
uh-huh. Yeah, he went away. Which is sensible because anything could have happened. You
Yes.
know, even if the head of state, what was his name again at the time? I forgot. I forgot the federal head of state. But to me, that was also, and the Archbishop saw that also as a principle for you all to emulate. That forgiveness, you know, as soon, one of the things he used to say is, don't
Do
go to
not go
bed.
to bed
That's
without
right.
reconciling.
Oh, that's right. Yep. And because that had been modeled, so much of your efforts were modeled on that time. You know, anyway, I don't want to interrupt your questioning. So,
Yeah, you can go on so that
because
I can get some of the things that I don't know.
uh, let me, I just want to say this, like self, how you were self reliant in the beginning, you know, how you were going to live that out. Actually, do you remember one of the first little ministry the sisters had was plaiting hair? Did you know that? Did they talk about that?
What you
Plaiting
said,
hair,
one of the ministries that we
plaiting,
had was
plaiting hair. Um,
plating of hair.
yeah, for the children in the village, they would come there
Yes,
and get their hair. And you know what room it was? You know when you come into the novitiate from the dining room, you know when that side door of the novitiate.
yes, yes.
Hmm.
Mm. Quality and hygienic. Very
Hmm.
important.
Hmm. You know,
Yeah.
I know one of the things I think with the formation that I maybe overemphasize, because I knew you all would soon be living on your own, you know? So you had to learn all the basic principles of how women in religious life live together in community. Do you see that? You were doing everything for the first time. Everything you were doing was for the first time. So, how to live in community, of course, you were of different
Mhm.
tribes. And that doesn't go away just because you say, we're going to live together peacefully. That's that takes time because you are different. You
Yes.
have traditions that are different. And so that was a challenge. And I'm sure it's still a challenge.
You see, different tribes coming together to live as one family and living in peace. While we were forming the first group of sisters, I want to ask, were there some things that you tried to put in place in order to achieve this oneness of different tribes coming together? From the challenges, I guess you had some challenges. Were there some things that were put in place to help achieve this?
That's a very good question because eh, just think of who I am. I think
Yeah.
in on one level, it was good that the bishop had a sister that was not didn't belong to any tribe. You understand?
Yes.
That was a good thing. On the other hand, I had no idea of the tribes.
Yeah.
You
So
see,
that was a challenge.
that was the challenge, and that was difficult because one of the examples is that I didn't know that if you use certain words with each other in a tribe, that could cause a fight. Um, Sister, one time they were at church and a priest had a monkey on the. Did you hear that story? Because
I
anyway,
don't know.
you don't know it. You didn't hear it. Well, that was my first big scare. We were at Urumi Church, and
Mm-hmm.
Father had a little monkey on the back on the porch, on the veranda. Let me use veranda, and it was
Yeah.
jumping from place to place. And Shola, Shola said to Angelina, "You look like Angelina. See monkey, oh, you look like the monkey."
Oh
Wow!
my God.
So they started a fight. Uh,
Wow.
Angelina bit Shola's tongue. I mean, it was. I didn't know what to do, and so we took him to the hospital right next door. Thank God, and it was a big thing. So the archbishop was out of town. I didn't know how to handle it. I had no idea how to handle that. So that's an example of a tribal thing that happened, and I didn't know how. So what I didn't mind doing was asking for help, and I called Father Chukuma from Asaba, and
Yeah, Father.
Chukuma, he knew Shola's family, and he knew Angelina's family. So
Okay.
he came to there. He came to our place. He called the families together. He talked to them, and he explained what happened. And the the Angelina's family was very upset. Shola's family,
Hmm.
yeah, Shola's family. Um,
Hmm. Apologize.
they didn't really. They and Father said, that she has to be dismissed. She has to go. She will never.
Wow.
Yeah, and so she was dismissed.
Wow.
In fact,
That was serious.
mm, I think both of them were dismissed. Both of them were dismissed. The
Okay. So
the
okay, that
yeah, the archbishop was out of town, and he said for a beginning group, you have to make an example that kind of behavior would not be tolerated, and if you keep them, that's acquiescing and it's kind of validating behavior that is contrary to the spirit of the community.
From, mm,
So that's the kind of help that I was able to get. And I didn't mind asking for the help from people who were, and people like Father Chikuma and Sister Maria Poma, who was an SMA, no, an OLA sister, was very helpful, extremely
Sister
helpful.
Maria,
Ekpoma.
Maria
Uh-huh.
Ekomo,
She's,
OLA.
uh-huh.
Okay. So you started this way with the sisters, and eventually, what were they wearing? How did you come about the habits?
It was a real struggle, that habit. The Archbishop wanted them to reflect all that was good, true, and beautiful
And
in the culture. You get it?
so,
Okay.
yeah.
So, a Nigerian woman, when she's at her best, she wears her beautiful native dress, right? She don't wear.
Yes.
She doesn't wear a suit
Skirt
from.
and blouse.
Uh, she doesn't wear that, or a pair of pants. Huh? She doesn't wear that.
Mm,
She wears a beautiful garment that's made by she. It's made by traditionally. It was made by the people, by the people themselves made that cloth. They wove that cloth. They tie dye that cloth. They did all those things. So how this certainly is something beautiful, and it honors a tradition and place value on it. The sisters resisted that. They didn't want it.
mhm.
They didn't want it because they only image and experience of sisters were the European nuns that wore white, or blue, or whatever. But it was a traditional religious habit, and for them, that's what makes the nun the habit. They were just starting. They didn't understand. Some sisters in other places believe that the habit makes the nun.
Makes the none.
But we know it goes far deeper than that. So that was very, very hard. It didn't really happen. The acceptance, we did many things. The first, to try to gradually get them to accept the habit. The first thing was a little white dress with the embroidery on it. You know how the agbadas and bubas have embroidery.
Yes.
You know, uh, so the what do you call it? The top of the dress. What is it
The
called?
buba and wrapper.
Buba. How the boob.
Yes.
So the top of the dress had, you all don't have a sample. That was the original habit, and they I guess that was okay for a while. The novices began wearing it. I can just see Martina in it. That was not satisfying, though. They didn't, as a group, they didn't want that. They wanted a long white dress with a white habit veil, like the OLA sisters and the sisters at the hospital that they had seen, those Irish nuns, and then
Okay.
and then the Mercy nuns had their blue dress and the Daughters of Divine Love and the Immaculate Something Sisters, Eucharistic Heart. All these communities were wearing white dresses. And personally, I can tell you my own personal attitude toward that. I, it just uh, it just welled up in me what the worth of missionary work was when I saw them. I just it just made me it when I arrived in Nigeria in Benin, the first person I
Mm.
saw was a nun at the airport in a white dress, white habit, with a driver carrying her bags. And I went to her and asked her where was the Archbishop's residence. Oh, and she said, I'm going there now. I can give you a ride. Where are you? Where's your luggage? I said, it's right here. I'm gonna get it. I'll get it. And she said, oh no, let the boy get it. Let the boy get it. I said, no, I'll get my own luggage. I'll carry my own luggage. Oh no, let them do it. They love doing things for us. That's what she told me. And those kinds of things stuck in my head. And you see, to me, um, that was a that was the kind of thing that independence of a nation, uh, you revolt against. I mean,
I want
you
to
want
get
to end that because for me, what it did was it reminded me of what slavery must have been like in this country, you know. Uh,
well,
and it was too close to home for me because my ancestors were slaves. So to me, was just continuing something in the 21st century, in the 20th century, I guess, that was had been abolished. And that was my first experience with white people in Africa. That arrival at the airport um, in Benin. So I believed to concretely live out all that's true and beautiful in a culture was what people see first is what you wear, and the indigenous habit made sense. It made sense, but it took a lot of coaxing and a lot of encouragement. And when I came there, I wore your clothing, not the habit that you ended up with. I never tried to wear what you wore, but I wore the long dresses, the booba, the long ones. I wore them,
yeah,
yeah, because I wanted to I wanted to demonstrate in my own way that it
exemplify.
was
Yeah,
beautiful, that it was that was beautiful, you know. But um, I never wore your dress because I wouldn't do that. It was
yeah,
yours. So it was the question going back to the beginning, and for me to try to handle conflict with different tribes. And it was very hard. I had a very hard time. It was very challenging, and I often didn't understand what to do. It took a long time, and God sent people. I think Sister Maria was a big help, and the Archbishop, of course. We had challenges in relationship. That's true about how we form the women. We didn't always agree. That's true. We did not always agree. Um, and Uh, but, we would work it through. Um, I had lots of help from the Jesuits
Good.
and lots of help from the Maris brothers in Ekpoma. Those were for day to day living, day to day formation. They help with the teaching of the sisters. And so a lot of people were part of your initial years. Okay. The first
Thank you.
the first retreat was given by the current Cardinal Anaikon. He gave you all your
Wow.
first retreat.
Do you remember the year? Mm,
It was
no.
it was the year that they entered the novitiate, which was
That's
the year that first group entered the novitiate, because it was very elaborate. It was held in the cathedral in Benin. It was more
mm,
like a profession, the novitiate entrance. The bishop wanted to make this that it was serious, that the community had started, and he wanted the people to witness it, all the people in the archdiocese. So he held the entrance into the novitiate in Benin
in the
and
cathedral.
in
In,
the cathedral.
wow.
So that was universal. And in his homily that day, he told the people that this is not because of that was he was shutting down that tribalism immediately because he was a Ishan bishop. Doesn't mean that this community was an Urumi thing or Benin thing or a Nigerian thing. You were being founded to give witness to the whole country and the whole world. So your community was never in his vision, and I guess when he and Kelly talked, was never to be a closed community, a community that is closed in, but you were meant to be for the world, to give witness to the world, universal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sister, and this is very important. Thank you so
It is
much.
very important. It's
Yes,
very important.
very
So when
important.
when people question
Sorry.
why, maybe they may question why the sisters are going to Rome and why they are going to work in America. America don't need them. Yes, America needs them because they're fulfilling their mission of being a community, an order with a universal mission.
Oh,
Okay, that's
yes.
that was the vision of the founder, and in that first homily in the cathedral, that's what he said. This is not an
Okay.
this is not an Urumi thing. This is not a Benin thing. This is not a Nigerian thing. It's
The universal thing. Yeah, I understand.
living with with you. I had my own struggles, you know,
Yeah.
um, and I was trying to what everything I tried to do was to prepare you to be able to live yourself.
Our
So
own. Yeah.
knowing that everything you were doing was for the first time. So,
Yeah.
and I remember I had never lived in Africa before, and I
Yeah.
didn't always understand, and I didn't always do what was right. You know,
Yeah.
I often got confused. I often said the wrong things, and I probably often said things that was offensive to the sisters. But you know what?
Mm-mm.
Those were the things I would say to my children in
Children.
the school
Yeah.
in America,
Yeah.
because really the way I saw the young women trying to form them, trying to, what I couldn't understand. We have a work ethics that was different. What I couldn't
Mm.
understand was like after lunch, everybody would go to bed. We don't do that here, you
Yeah.
know. You see, so I'd make them get up. We don't go to bed here. We have work to do.
Yeah.
And, yeah, you see. So during my time, I hear the siesta is back on the agenda, right?
Okay, you didn't allow the sisters to take
No,
siesta.
no,
Ooh.
no, no. That was anathema. No siesta. Because
Why? Why?
because
Why was it so?
if you're going to be self-reliant, self-sustaining, you have to work. You have to work. You sleep at night. You see, we don't have such a thing as siesta. That's British.
Okay.
That's British. That's what
Okay.
you all inherited that from the colonial powers. That's
No.
pure colonialism. And I was going to
Yeah.
decolonize. You see, now maybe that wasn't the right thing, but the Archbishop agreed with it. He agreed with that, though he went to siesta every day.
Mm.
He did.
So the sisters only had the night to sleep.
That's
There
right.
was no need for
N-
siesta during the day. In the novitiate, we were taught to take out time, rest, then continue your work. We didn't work all through the day.
but you rest. You stop to sleep.
Yeah, we rest. We call it rest or siesta. You do that, then you continue your work. And once it is time for light out, you put off your light and you sleep.
Yeah, at night. Mhm.
That is also ongoing now in our formation.
There are a lot of things,
And
like maybe that was something to be examined. I mean, that's something to reflect on. Like it's become part of the culture, and to me, that's something that's I can't look at it from at the time I was looking at it from my experience. You see, but I also looked at it from a colonial. I saw that as something colonial, and I was young, and I was coming out of a very radical kind of living. And we were in the wake of it's a whole big story, but about what formed me and shaped who I was at that time. Very liberal, uh, very radical in my views. And I guess I would say judgmental. I mean, I'm older now and experienced
mm,
best teacher, but
yeah,
I don't really know how to look at that. Coming from a culture where we don't we don't have those kinds of, you know, work is our thing. In fact, that's how we are successful as a nation when you talk about finances and money and whatever. Not that that's the most important thing. I'm not saying that, but you're born with the work ethics. And I believed at the time, I don't know how to look at that from, because to me, those novices, uh, those young people, they should learn that right from the beginning. And that's what I believe. But you have to look at it from another point of view. The climate has a lot to do with it, the heat, and uh, and the physical stamina of the people. Okay.
You know?
Now
Yeah.
you know how Cecilia and them work. They get up
You said?
at Sister Cecilia and the other sisters in America. They get up like at
Yeah.
5. They pray. They go to mass. They eat a little bit and then they go to work and they go back to rest at about 8 or 9 o'clock at night. That's their schedule.
Okay. In the US.
Yeah. The long hours of prayer was always there, but the sisters love to pray and they love
Yeah.
to get up early and pray and have the holy hours and which was in keeping with the spirituality, the Sacred Heart. Um,
Yeah.
so
Adoration.
that's rooted in their tradition, um, and that's good.
Yeah.
And the ones here do the same thing. Your sisters in America follow that, but they don't. The way they have work at the work is here. They can't take a break. They have no breaks
No, we
until.
don't take.
Mhm.
Mhm. Okay. So, excuse me. So I want to ask again, how many sets of sisters passed through you in the novitiate?
I will
Was Sister
never.
Cecilia your commandee?
I'll never
Was Sister
remember. I'll never remember that.
was Sister Cecilia your commandee?
Yeah,
Okay. So Sister Maggie was Sister
Maggie,
Maggie,
Maggie, Cecilia, and
Teresa Ohian, Angela
No,
Balogun,
Teresa was by herself. Angela, uh, Josephine, uh,
Ebuehi.
uh-huh. Um, uh, I don't really remember all the groups. I don't
Okay.
remember them in groups. I remember
Yeah,
them as persons. Um,
it's okay.
I remember, Florence's group. I remember they were a very lively, hardworking group. Florence and Gertrude and Elizabeth
Yeah.
and
Alice.
Alice. Yeah. Odede.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Teresa, I know, was alone. And Henrietta and whoever was in her group, um, they know themselves. All the way to
Yes.
Josephine, for sure. All the way to Jobahi. And
Yes.
mhm. and they may not Angela, but not Angela, but the other one here, Emily, was not in the novitiate, but she was interested, and she came to some kind of ceremony. That's what she told me, and That's during the time she was applying. But that was at the time I was leaving. So I don't know them in numbers and groups, but in it as persons, as individuals,
Okay.
you know. So you would have to figure out who in those
Yeah.
individuals were
I,
in what group.
yeah, I forgot that. So, sister, from our discussions, I noticed you said you came November 1975. And when did you leave Nigeria?
Uh, I think, let me see, I don't know the date, but I think the year was 91 or two. Cecilia knows. She
Okay.
knows. You can get that date.
Okay.
I guess that was the day of celebration when I left y'all.
So
Y'all won't.
were you here when we had our first general chapter?
No.
Okay. Okay. You had
Oh,
already
yeah.
left.
Let me see. That's when Martina was elected. Yeah. I was there. I left after your general chapter. Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. That should be 1992.
Uh huh. Uh-huh. But
1992.
I don't know what month that was. I know it was in the summer because when I got here, our archdiocese was celebrating the anniversary of the diocese. So, and it was in the summer. So,
Okay.
got back. And then,
Okay.
yeah, it was 92, I think, because I went to Rome 93, 94. I spent that year in Rome. Uh-huh. It was, yeah, it was probably then. You're right. Hmm.
Yes, sister, there's something you said that actually you talked about that you got the assistance of the Jesuits. The Jesuits came to give lectures to the sisters and
Yes.
also the Maries.
Uh-huh.
So, yes, why they were doing that? Because sometimes I notice some similarities with the structures I see at the Jesuits and ours. Did their structures influence some of our early structures?
Okay. Uh-huh. Okay. Give me an example.
Like when I look at the novitiate at the early time and the refectory, the way the building, the paint, even in our chapel, the stone at the tabernacle, the novitiate chapel. I don't know if you were there. When I look at how those structures are, and the structures are still as good as ever, even till today.
Yes.
And when I look at the structures in the Jesuit compound, I begin to wonder, said, whether you had some interactions with them or was it our founder or
Well, both of
but
us. Both of us did. Not
yeah,
necessarily with, but also there was an Italian man that was uh, living in Nigeria and working and was living on the property of the bishop. His name was Romney, I think. And he advised the bishop on a lot of things for structures, for buildings. But I didn't personally engage in a lot of the building things because that's one thing I wanted to stay away from. My concern was the people, the human
people.
person, because I don't believe in a lot of buildings. I don't believe in because I see what happened in America. We have nothing but buildings and no people in community religious life. We're buildings that could house millions of people, but we have nobody. So I tried not to make that focus. The novitiate, yes. The chapel, yes, you needed a chapel. And I know a lot of the money for that came from the propagation of the faith in Rome. So that was important. You needed that. You needed a library section. You needed, and you were weaving and doing all those things to be able to live out your values, which was self-reliance. So you needed
Mhm.
that weaving industry. You needed the replace.
Yes.
You needed all those. Those are the things that would serve the people of God, and anything beyond that was not. And you were just beginning, and it was important that you not be handed things on a silver platter, but that you see it evolving and you work through it. But to have it done right is important. To be built right,
Yeah.
yes. Hmm.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sister. I think I have asked a lot of questions, but I am so grateful that the way you talked about at the early stage, the principles of living in the community, the emphasis on living together peacefully, the emphasis of people coming from different tribes to live together, to bear witness in Nigeria and even universally. That is very important to us, and it is good you are talking about that. And we are also working very hard to see that we live out that
Yeah.
unity.
And
Then,
that was so rooted in your founder's belief. He wanted
yeah,
that. And he articulated it at the first official gathering of the group, you see, before the whole church in Nigeria.
yes, and
Hmm.
said that. And that statement on the day of reception into the novitiate at the cathedral is very, very important to us. And it is
Hmm.
good that and I also want to congratulate you and to appreciate the effort, even without much cultural competence about Nigeria, that you were able to help our sisters in spite of all odds at that stage. And of course, you can see where we are today. I want to proudly say that by the special grace of God, that the seed that you sowed at that early stage has grown, and that you will still keep praying for us as we celebrate our golden jubilee, that God will help us to bear authentic witness to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. I heard you talking about the unconditional love of Christ, and you
Yeah.
talked about forgiveness. You talked about reconciliation, that after the war in Nigeria, there was reconciliation, there was forgiveness. And that is very important to us
Hmm.
too,
Hmm.
sisters. And also our founder's saying that tells us, do not go to bed
Bed
with
without. Hmm.
yes, without reconciling
Hmm.
with your sister. And of course, I just talked about adoration, and you re-emphasize that that is also part of our spirituality,
Hmm.
highly linked to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. You've actually said a lot. And at this point, I would like to ask that what advice do you have for us as we celebrate our Golden Jubilee? Just one or two words.
Uh-huh. Well, um, I think we're living in a world, and since your order is a universal, has a universal a spirituality. It's not limited to any particular place. We're living in a world that's very challenging and that has great need for the demonstration of God's love and in a concrete way. So to me, the greatest gift you can give to the world as you begin the next journey is to be images of God's love on this earth, wherever you are, unconditional love. And if you can live that out, uh, you will be a great gift to the church, and you will be offering hope for the world. You know, Pope Francis said that hope is what is needed. While the world is we're living in very challenging time, we can't stop hoping. And hope and love live together is very powerful. And if you can do that, you can set the world on fire. Okay.
Thank you so much. Set the world on fire. So thank you so much, Sister Sylvia. I'm really grateful. It has been good and quite enlightening. Okay, it's like, okay, I
She,
thought she's here with us.
mm, uh, my memory is
Okay,
not my memory is not too bad, huh? For an old lady. Hello?
hello, it's like, hello, sister, you said?
I said my memory is not too bad for an old lady.
No, your memories are sharp.
Yeah. And you really are skillful as an interviewer. That's that's a great talent. You
Thank
do.
you.
Huh?
I'm very grateful. It has been a good time with
Yeah,
you.
I loved
Thank you
it.
so much.
I loved it. Thank you very much. Is
Thank you.
and if there's something that requires clarification, I would think a little more about the formation program itself. Like the like I don't think we because it's so integrated in daily living for the beginning of a group like that. And
Yeah,
you what you as I say, everything you did, you were doing it for the first time. So you had to learn how to
yeah,
live together in community, how to set the table, how to wash the dishes, how to do all
yeah,
those things
and
you take turns doing and all of that. So,
yeah,
uh, but it hopefully it was integrated. Um,
yeah.
you know,
Thank
and
you so much. So, sister, thank you. And
okay.
so at this point, I have to let you go have some rest.
No, I have to go to work. I have a big group
Okay,
waiting for
you
me.
have to let
It's
you
not
go to work.
nighttime. It's just the beginning of the day here.
Okay, okay. While I go join them in the meeting. So thank you so much.
You're
I think we
welcome.
are going to do a prayer. We started with prayer, even
Okay.
though it's tough. So I pray, or you pray.
Okay. I will pray.
Okay.
Good and gracious God, we give you thanks for uh, listening, for giving us the gift of hearing deeply, and of reflecting on our hearing, for the communication of a time that was uh, once was. Hopefully, always for the greater honor and glory of your name. And as we go on, we pray, Lord, that you will shower your blessings on this family, that they will
Amen.
continue to grow, and they will always be a sign of love in the world. And they
Amen.
will begin by showing that love for one another.
Amen.
And for this, and we pray that uh, the founder, Archbishop Ekpu, is looking down upon them with great pride and
Amen.
gratitude that your work that was started through his hands will continue.
Amen.
And we ask the Sacred Heart to bless these 50 years and bless each of the sisters of the Sacred Heart
Amen.
as they continue to serve you in love. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, sister. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you.
And have a blessed day at work.
Give my greetings to everybody.
Thank you. And
And
regards to everybody too.
yeah, and thank
Yeah,
you.
bye.
Thank you for
Thank
a
you.
very good interview. Thank you.
Thank you for your audience. Thank you and for your responses. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.